The hunter is now the hunted. And remember, these are charges leveled by a person who's supposed to be the NCB's own witness in this case. This talk of 25 crore rupees of extortion money to be taken from Shah Rukh Khan's family. Should Sameer Wankhede now be asked to step aside in this investigation because of the kind of charges that have been leveled? Because he is positioned by those speaking out as a player in the case. The NCB, we know, has taken cognizance of these charges, but no action has been taken against Sameer Wankhede so far. Joining me on this broadcast to represent the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party, we've got Shaina Hinsi, its spokesperson. Priyanka Chaturvedi joins us, Rajya Sabha Member of Parliament and spokesperson of the Shiv Sena. Swati Chaturvedi has been writing about this. Somi Ali joins us. She's an actor. I want to go across to Priyanka Chaturvedi first. Why is it, Ms. Chaturvedi, that you believe that Sameer Wankhede's continuance in this case, regardless of what happens in the High Court tomorrow with the Aryan Khan's bail plea, is now untenable? Sameer Wankhede needs to step aside so that we know what is true, what's not, and whether this charge of 25 crore rupees being extorted or an attempt being made at extortion, whether that's true or not.
Is that question to me?
It is, Priyanka.
So, whatever happens in the High Court tomorrow is for judiciary to know, and on the basis of that take a call on whether the bail can be granted or no. I will not be able to speak or preempt anything that happens in the courts. However, there are some serious charges that have come up in the course of the investigation. And let's not forget, since your show is about star kids, celebrity kids, while celebrity kids cannot be above law and order and justice needs to be served. However, we need to understand over the past 1.5 years, everyone who has been targeted by NCB, even the Supreme Court came down heavily on them. Charges have still not been filed, whether it's a Riya Chakrabarti, whether it is a Sara Ali Khan, whether it is Deepika Padukone, and now it's Aryan Khan. So we need to understand the apex body of this country. Is it supposed to become a group of extortionists, or they are supposed to be breaking the entire narco-terrorism threat that we see coming from Afghanistan and emboldened Taliban and Pakistan? So this is the question that we need to answer. And with people like Sameer Wankhede, who have charges of fraud, they have charges of extortion, need to be coming clean, and till the time investigation is not over, it would only be fair if he steps aside till his own investigation is not complete.
Shaina NC, Sameer Wankhede was shown as this man going after the rich and the powerful, the star kids who are up to no good. Now the shoe's on the other foot. He has very, very serious charges against him. We don't know the validity of those charges, just as we don't know whether or not Aryan Khan was indeed doing drugs at that moment. Do you think that in the interest of a fair probe, Sameer Wankhede should step aside?
So firstly, if you have a victim who speaks to social media when the matter is sub judice, shouldn't that prayer be submitted in the court first? What has the NCC called him? Sameer Dawood Wankhede. They have questioned his Hindu and Muslim identity. They have questioned who he is married to. They have questioned his personal documents on Twitter.
No, so forget the politicians. No, ma'am. I think you're going off on a different tangent. I'm not for a second talking about what Nawab Malik and gang are saying. Let's leave that aside. I'm going to fix Shaina NC's audio in just a minute. Umakant Mishra, what you have right now is a victim in the case, is a witness in this case, who's come out and saying that Pooja Dadlani and there was a conversation taking place where apparently 25 crore rupees were discussed. It was agreed to settle at 18 crore rupees. Now, he has been presented as a witness in this case, Prabhakar Sail, and therefore, do you think, here's my question, sir, do you believe, Umakant Mishra, that till the charges are proven to be true or untrue, Sameer Wankhede needs to step aside from this case?
Yeah, can you hear me, Rahul?
I hear you well, sir. Please go on.
Yeah, you see, the situation has become very, very interesting. The timing of the independent witness who has come and made allegations and all that is very, very speaks of a very well thought out design and all that. I am not going a lot of detail into whatever is there, the only thing which is I find from an investigative or an operational point of view is that the allegation has been beautifully woven into something which has some evidentiary value and something which is purely an hearsay evidence, like overhearing the allegation of demanding 25 crores, out of which 8 crores would have gone and all that. But yes, since the allegation has been made, it will have to be inquired into, and I think appropriate steps are being taken. And most probably, as per the process, due process, first the central chief vigilance officer of the organization will look into preliminarily, prima facie, if there is any evidence is made out. And I think after that, due process will take over, because Mr. Wankhede is a Group A officer. I think it will be falling under the jurisdiction of the Central Vigilance Commission, which is an independent body. So the apprehension.
So you're questioning the timing. You're saying it looks like a well thought out design.
I think it is
right ahead of the bail hearing. Swati Chaturvedi, Umakant Mishra making the point that it seems to be an attempt to derail the investigation that Sameer Wankhede was carrying out. Swati Chaturvedi.
Wankhede has been carrying out many investigations in the past 1 year. None of them have reached a conclusion. I like to remind you, since all our memories are very short, that on 5th April this year, Anil Deshmukh, the Home Minister of Maharashtra, resigned after the High Court said that there should be a CBI investigation into extortion allegations made by Parambir Singh, who's now on the run. So if the Home Minister of Maharashtra can resign and step aside, why is Sameer Wankhede, with all these controversies, even continuing? It is untenable. Do you think it's a fair probe when someone like Sameer Wankhede, who such serious allegations have been made against, should continue to probe this? We've seen his track record. We saw the Riya case. We saw the Sarah Ali Khan. We saw, Deepika Padukone. What conclusion has the NCB ever reached? This is just currently like an extortion agency, who are doing vasuli of very, very high-profile people. And if Anil Deshmukh could resign as Maharashtra Home Minister, what prevents the union government from asking Mr. Wankhede to step aside? We have no other competent official to probe the drug case against Aryan Khan. It's only Mr. Wankhede, who's, by the way, a very junior official. He's a zonal head of NCB. So, if the Home Minister can quit, Mr. Wankhede should very well be, reassigned, and wait, let's have a probe. If he comes out clean, very good. And if he doesn't, then let him pay for the consequences.
But the whole thing, even the fact that KP Gosavi is sitting there clicking selfies, Aryan Khan's talking on his phone, he's accompanying the raiding party.
Exactly.
He has links going back, Umakant Mishra, to the Bharatiya Janata Party. He has a lookout notice against him. He runs away to Nepal, is now back in Lucknow, apparently going to surrender in a short while. Now, all of this just doesn't seem to suggest that the Narcotics Control Bureau is a well-run body. It looks more like an extortion mafia in the manner in which it's operating, or the fact that there's been no charge sheet against Riya Chakravarti, no update on what happened to Deepika Padukone, what happened to Rakul Preet, what happened to the others who went in at that time. It's just like hit and miss, fire and then run away. This is not the way an investigating agency ought to be behaving, Mr. Umakant Mishra. Mr. Umakant Mishra?
Yeah, I think, will you please repeat the question? I think your voice is not coming very clear.
So my question is very clear, and I'll repeat it since you didn't hear it. My question is, the former agency that you represented seems to be behaving like some kind of an extortion mafia. Why I say this is that you went and carried out this high-profile investigation against Rakul Preet, against Deepika Padukone, now against Aryan Khan, previously against Riya Chakravarti. We don't even know what happened in that investigation. 1 year has passed, no charge sheet was filed. It almost seems as if it's like a hit squad. You fire, you scoot, without following up on that investigation, and therefore it seems to be bringing out the worst notions of what the NCB is really up to.
Yeah, you see, the investigation part is usually the whole idea of investigation is to arrive at a conclusion whether somebody is actually involved or not, and whether charge can be sustained in the court of law. And that there is a limit under the statute that within that time you have to do it. So ultimately, these two things have to be taken care of. If they haven't filed within the due time, or even after the investigation, because the time element doesn't become important, because if the person is outside and his personal liberty is not curtailed and all that, it doesn't matter, investigation can go on and all that. But the whole point is investigation is only for the purpose of ascertaining whether somebody is involved or not. If suppose 1 year or 2 years has passed and they have not filed any charge sheet against somebody, that means they don't have anything against her. As far as the why investigation is conducted against that person, it is a very kind of a question which cannot be answered, because the whole idea is that at that point the link has arisen in such a way that it merited investigation.
Okay, so Priyanka Chaturvedi, do you buy that argument for what it's worth? The fact that they haven't filed a charge sheet isn't necessarily a bad thing, argues Umakant Mishra. It suggests that they have no axe to grind, because they would have otherwise gone and filed a charge sheet come what may. They haven't filed because they accept that they found nothing, which means that you can't take away from them their right to probe. That's the point the former NCB officer is making. Priyanka Chaturvedi.
No, absolutely. No. What Mr. Mishra is saying is right up to a point that an apex body, an investigating agency, is well within its rights to go and inquire and figure out what are the mafias that are running and how to break the mafia and the drug lords that exist. However, what we have seen over the past 1 year, just like ED, IT, CBI has put to use in states which are not governed by the Bharatiya Janata Party, the same way NCB has stepped in. Now, from the day one of this particular cruise party raid that happened, right from Mr. Gosavi to a BJP worker, having all access to those who are accused in the case, some having been asked to leave as well, the entire case seems to be compromised. We have an independent witness coming on record to say that this was a case of extortion. We have so many other incidents coming forward, which goes to show that a charge sheet which hasn't been filed over 1 year, and a witch hunt that was carried out, pulling in every single Bollywood celebrity, somehow goes to show that the intent of actually breaking down the narco-terrorism network is just not there. It's more about sensationalizing, it's more about witch hunting and probably extorting out of them.
Somi Ali, what are you making of these charges now against the lead investigating officer in this case? He was positioned as this dead honest officer going after the big fish in Bollywood who nobody wanted to touch. Now it seems he himself has a lot to hide and there are very serious charges being leveled against him.
See, personally, I am here to take a stand for Aryan and Chunky's daughter. Chunky's someone who I've worked with. I've known Shah Rukh and Gauri for over 21 years. And I think what is being done to Aryan is just, they're just trying to prove that because he's a famous Bollywood actor's son, that it doesn't matter. And I think it's despicable that Aryan is still in jail and has not been released on bond. It's preposterous to me. I don't understand it. I don't have a lot of details. We don't even know what happened. We still don't know what happened. Did Aryan do drugs? And you know what? I'm sorry, but I tried drugs when I was 15. Kids, young adults, teenagers universally experiment with drugs. It's not breaking news. What's breaking news is that Shah Rukh and Gauri's son is in prison and he should have been released on bail by now. That should be the breaking news. So it's preposterous that he's still not out on bail.
Well,
that's my...
We will track what happens in the High Court. Meanwhile, the focus is squarely on Sameer Wankhede and the officer who led this case. Because first you had that charge about an extortion racket of 25 crore rupees. Then Maharashtra's Minister Nawab Malik is alleging that the NCB zonal director forged his birth certificate and got into the Indian Revenue Service in the reserved category for Dalits or scheduled caste, which he apparently isn't. Wankhede is debunking these charges and saying that politicians are out to fix him and his family because he's been doing good work.
₹25 करोड़ क्या 25 करोड़ का बॉम्ब डाल क्या बोला उन्होंने
बॉन्ड डाल लास्ट 18 तक फाइनल कर 8 वानखेड़े साहब को देना है बाकी का हम लोग करते हैं
A superstar son, a rising starlet, a high-profile cruise party, drugs, and now an extortion charge. The case is no less than a super-hit Bollywood crime thriller. And now in a massive twist, the spotlight has shifted to the NCB's very own Sameer Wankhede. Maharashtra Minister Nawab Malik has dropped another bombshell, claiming that the NCB zonal director in Mumbai, Sameer Wankhede's religion, is mentioned as Muslim and that his father's name appears to have been changed from Dawood K. Wankhede to Dayan Dev Wankhede, hinting that the NCB had forged his religion in documents to get a job.
बर्थ सर्टिफिकेट में टेम्परिंग करके जो उनके पिताजी ने धर्मांतर करने के बाद नाम बदला था उसे फिर दुरुस्त किया, उसके आधार पे कास्ट सर्टिफिकेट निकाला गया। जो दलित कैंडिडेट थे आईआरएस के, उनके अधिकारों को फर्जीवाड़े के जरिए छीना गया है।
पैदाइश होने से पहले, स्कूल जाने से पहले सब A to Z मेरा अभी तक का रिकॉर्ड, मेरा डिपार्टमेंट का रिकॉर्ड, स्कूल का, कॉलेज का, एनसीसी का, ज्ञानदेव वानखेड़े मेरा नाम है। मराठी में ज्ञानदेव बोलते, हिंदी में ज्ञानदेव बोलते। मेरा कभी दाऊद से कोई संबंध भी नहीं नाम से हो। अभी किधर से फर्जी बना के लाए ये भी मुझे पता नहीं।
Sameer Wankhede is a 2008 batch Indian Revenue Service officer and was selected under scheduled caste or SC quota. Another NCP worker tweeted a picture alleging it to be that of Sameer Wankhede's first wedding to a woman named Dr. Shabana Qureshi.
समीर दाऊद वानखेड़े ये एक फर्जी व्यक्ति है। बर्थ सर्टिफिकेट उनका समीर दाऊद वानखेड़े का है। पूरी इनकी जिंदगी एक फर्जी चीज़ों से शुरू हुई और सारा फर्जीवाड़ा वो कर रहे हैं।
देखिए, मुझे जो भी कहना था कि मुझे परेशान किया जा रहा है, मेरी फैमिली के ऊपर अटैक किया जा रहा है, तो मैंने माननीय न्यायालय के सामने रख दिया। मैं मीडिया में नहीं बात कर सकता हूँ अभी।
क्या आपने कितनी
मुझे कहना था मैंने बात कर, आई हैव ऑलरेडी इन्फॉर्म्ड द ऑनरेबल।
In response, Wankhede has issued a statement saying he belongs to a composite multi-religious family as his father was a Hindu and his mother was a Muslim. His current wife, Kranti Redkar Wankhede, also put out pictures of their Hindu wedding. The new allegations come after witness number 1, Prabhakar Sail, dropped a bombshell claiming Wankhede demanded money to let off Aryan Khan.
25 करोड़ रुपया। क्या 25 करोड़ का बॉम्ब डालो? क्या बोला उन्होंने?
हाँ, बॉन्ड डाल, लास्ट 18 तक फाइनल कर, 8 वानखेड़े साहब को देना है, बाकी का हम लोग को रखना है।
The allegations have left the Narcotics Control Bureau red-faced. The agency has ordered an inquiry into the extremely serious charges of extortion against Sameer Wankhede.
हमारे उप महानिदेशक दक्षिणी पश्चिम क्षेत्र ने एक रिपोर्ट सौंपी है। उसका संज्ञान लेते हुए हमारे महानिदेशक ने जांच सतर्कता विभाग को दी है। ये जो तथ्य सामने आया है, इसकी भी हम लोग जांच करने के लिए ओपन है और बहुत ट्रांसपेरेंट तरीके से जांच की जाएगी।
But will Wankhede step aside for now? The NCB says no, he will continue to head the drug bust probe in this high-profile Mumbai case. Jolted by the allegations and continuous attacks by political parties, Sameer Wankhede has approached court for some reprieve, filing an affidavit in the Mumbai Sessions Court to take cognizance of attempts, according to him, to intimidate and hamper the investigation. Wankhede is covering all bases. Before moving court, he also shot off a letter to the Mumbai Police Commissioner claiming unknown persons were attempting to frame him. With Divyesh Singh in Mumbai, Bureau Report, India Today.
Even if for a minute you leave aside the charges about his birth certificate and the caste he belongs to, the religion he belongs to, because to my mind these don't matter. What matters, Shaina NC, is the charge of extortion that's now leveled at his door by somebody who's supposed to be a witness in this case, somebody who presumably was part of the NCB's case against Shah Rukh Khan, and now is alleging that Sameer Wankhede was trying to extort money. Is that not reason enough for Sameer Wankhede to have to step aside, face an investigation, and for facts to be determined about whether these charges are true or not? Ms. Shaina NC.
Rahul, what is the job of the NCB? Isn't the job of the Narcotics Bureau to get to the bottom of the case, especially the supply chain, and especially when there's a huge strata that is trying to destabilize India and its youth? If we are all on the same page, please appreciate an upright officer who was only doing his job. The issue is not about Aryan Khan. It is not about forming judgment. If at all, we as a society need to have a reformative approach when there are people who are consuming drugs, etc., for reasons best known to all. Now the point is, you have a witness who should have ideally gone to the Honorable Court in his prayer and chose not to, despite the matter being sub judice, and chose to go to social media and make this into a whole conspiracy theory without any substantive proof. There you have Nawab Malik shouting and screaming and saying that Sameer Wankhede is a parrot of the BJP. This is not a political issue. This is, if at all, a sociological menace. He has gone on record saying in 1 month I will put him behind bars. Today you call him Sameer Daud Wankhede. What does it feel like for the police force and the honest, upright officer who is only doing his job? You have questioned whether he's Hindu, Muslim, his marriage, his identity. You have made a mockery of his social and
So Priyanka Chaturvedi, your alliance partners in the NCP raising questions about religion, about his marriage, about his birth, about his caste, which frankly aren't germane to this case. Rather than focusing on the extortion charges, they've involved all these other ancillary matters. How do you respond? Because when people see this, some will say that what Shaina is saying has a point. Here's a man who was investigating the case. What does his religion or his caste or who he's married to have anything to do with the charges that have been leveled against Shah Rukh's son?
So, two things I'd like to say here. The number one thing is where you said that his caste is irrelevant to this investigation. Yes, up to an extent. But I must tell you something, Rahul, that if an elected representative, a Lok Sabha constituency or a MLA, if he produces a fake caste certificate and if it is proved in the court of law, then they are thrown out from their constituency and a re-election is asked for. So if everyone has to be, Caesar's wife has to be above suspicion, why do we have some special laws for an NCB official? How do you judge someone's clean or someone's not clean? If there is something which is fraudulent, shouldn't Caesar's wife should be above suspicion? Shouldn't he come forward? There is an explanation which has come right now and you'd find it amusing, but I'm not going to get into that. Now, point number two. He is appointed for 6 months when Rakesh Asthana ji was additional DG. So firstly, NCB does not have a full-time DG till now for past 2 years. So additional DG Rakesh Asthana appoints him for a period of 6 months and he is supposed to be on a special, what is it called, loan to the NCB for a period of 6 months. 6 months have long passed. He joined on the 22nd of August and he continues being in his position right now. So thirdly, and the last point I'd like to make here is that when NCB is not looking at someone who's getting to the bottom of the matter, NCB is also being accused of many such things as extortion, as the prime witness has spoken about. And when you see videos, there are ample videos that show Sam D'Souza, who's one of the accused, as per the independent witness. When you see a KP Gosavi, who's on the run, also having total access to these accused, who are seen making phone calls, and Mr. NCB, the upright officer, just missing in action, then questions are bound to be asked.
No, also, Swati, questions about KP Gosavi, who's speaking to the media. He has a lookout notice, is allowed to surrender without any effort being made to go out. He's telling us, I'm in Lucknow, is thane pe aa jao, main wahan jaake surrender dunga. It seems to be playing itself out in the full media glare without anybody going after him. He has a lookout circular going back to 2018 against him.
Are you asking me?
Yes, Swati, I am.
Yeah, Rahul, the first point I'd like to make is that, what you said about caste is absolutely true. We shouldn't judge. But the fact is that if you're a UPSC class 1 officer, if you have produced claim to be a scheduled caste or scheduled tribe, you are instantly dismissed from service if it's proven. It is a sackable offense. It's a very big deal if you are a class 1 gazetted officer of the IRS or the IAS. First of all, in the UPSC. Second of all, if this was a movie, we wouldn't believe it because it's unbelievable. Now, you have this man who is, you can see, he's very close to Mr. Wankhede. In the case of Aryan Khan, he's sitting inside the agency and making him talk on a cell phone. Now, what is going on? I mean, Aryan Khan could be a celebrity, but he has the same rights as you and me or any citizen for a fair trial. This seems to be like a complete vasuli. Mr. Amit Shah, who the NCB reports to, should immediately order a probe and clean it up, because nobody now believes that Aryan Khan was given a fair, his arrest was genuine, this whole case is genuine. It has become so vitiated by the actions of Mr. Sameer Wankhede, and all the leaks he's been doing to the media. This man is giving bites a minute. This government has told retired people not to write without their vetting. A junior official is going against the conduct rules to brief the media every 5 minutes.
So I'm out of time. I'm clearly action has to be taken against Sameer Wankhede. He cannot continue given the charges that have been leveled by somebody who is supposed to be witness, somebody who is present
in a court
there.
of law, no, the matter is sub
Yes,
judice.
the
So
matter
it's
is
not
sub
for
judice.
you,
We will
me, or
track what
anyone
happens
to form
in the
as
court of
person
law as well. But
without
madam,
substantive proof.
it's not that simple, Shaina NC. He is the one who at this moment is leading the investigation against Aryan Khan. If he's trying to extort money on the side, that's not something that Aryan and his lawyers can prove in a court of law. Yes, the track record is what is questionable. The fact that there is no charge sheet against Riya Chakravarti, the fact that we don't know what happened in the Deepika Padukone investigation or what happened in the Rakul Preet case, the fact that he levels...
China got Anil Deshmukh
How is something supposed to be proven in a court of law? It's the investigating agency.
When there is no evidence, how somebody can file a charge sheet?
Yes, in which case you give a clean chit. Sir, in which case you give a clean chit. If, for example, there is no charge sheet, then you come out and say, we haven't found any evidence against you, Ms. Deepika Padukone, against you, Ms. Rakul Preet, against you, Riya Chakravarti, so they can get on with their lives without having this cloud of the NCB hanging over their heads. This is not fair, this is not right, this is not the way any democratic system that believes in the institutions of law can function. You can't have an officer who's accused of extorting 25 crore rupees. On that case, he has to be moved out. Somebody else has to come in and probe this freely and fairly. If he's genuinely, I don't know, and I must say.
Rahul, the allegation is coming as a hearsay evidence, which you must appreciate.
Sir, even the charges against Aryan Khan at this moment are hearsay evidence. He did not have drugs in his body. He wasn't found in the possession of drugs. So a lot of this is based on circumstantial evidence.
We're not discussing that, Rahul.
How? That's very convenient. That's very convenient. This is hearsay coming from the witness. That is not hearsay because it's coming from Sameer Wankhede, who now has a charge of trying to extort 25 crore rupees. That's not fair. You must move him aside. Let somebody... I have no axe to grind against Wankhede, and neither am I friends with Shah Rukh Khan. We don't know. But what is very clear is that you have to have a free and fair probe, not by people who are players in the game. I'm slipping into a break for the time being. Shaina NC, Priyanka Chaturvedi, Uma Kant Mishra, Swati Chaturvedi and Somali. Thank you very much for joining us.